Hey girl, let's talk. Ramona Holloway here. I'm one of the Radio 1 Charlotte women hosting this virtual series where we get a chance to connect and talk about the things that are really important to us, especially as women. We're talking health, wealth, relationships, parenting, caregiving, and we want you to like and share and just be a part of the conversation. Suggest on Hey Girl, Let's Talk, we're sitting down with people who we want to have lunch with. And right now, not a good time to actually have lunch in person. So I invited some dementia legacies to this Hey Girl chat. The first one being my sorority sister, Delta Sigma Theta. Ooh, ooh. She is also a diabetes educator, and her mom, Joyce, was one of my favorite Delta dears. She is a professional diabetes educator, Vicki Moore. My second guest is a woman I met who changed my caregiving life. The information and the education and a place for mom to be was the brainchild of Lynn Ivy from the Ivy Memory Wellness Center. And my third guest is another dementia legacy who, when I encountered her and her mom at a Women Against Alzheimer's luncheon, I was heartbroken for them because I knew where they were and I was so afraid that's where I was going to be headed. Kristen Schottenheimer. Hello, Kristen. Hello, Vicki. Hello, Lynn.
Hi, Ramona.
Thank you so much for being here. I have to ask one question to start this conversation off. Do you think about developing dementia at some point?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Every day.
I was about to say, raise your hand if you think about it every single day. That's why today we're talking about minding your mind. Is it just me, Vicki, or everywhere you go, is there someone with a dementia story?
Every single day. It's so interesting that we hear about it more often than I remember hearing about it when I was younger. But now I have a minimum of 5 close family, well, not family, but friends who are dealing with this with at least one parent, if not 2.
And Lynn, you're a double winner, right?
Absolutely. Of course, we are working with families right now who have their loved ones. We've probably met over 600 families over the last 13 years who have had it, but that doesn't even count what's out there in my friendship circle and other. I mean, we're all talking about it now. We're at that age, and we should be talking about it now. And one would argue we should talk about it even earlier.
Yeah. Kristen, in your circle, and I'm talking about your NFL family, are you hearing the stories there too? Kristen. Oh, we're going to have to go back to Kristen because it is okay. There, we got you. We've got you back. In your NFL circle, are you hearing the stories too?
Yes, all the time. We have spent a lot of time hearing folks, both in the NFL and all sorts of levels of college play, college football, that it is just more and more prevalent. And I actually think it's good that we're having these conversations, having this conversation today, having conversations when.
Vicki, Kristen, you froze up on us. I want to ask Vicki an important question. What are you doing right now to lower your risk?
It's interesting because you and I have had this conversation before about when you're in the midst of caregiving and you're hearing all of the things that you're supposed to do to prevent it. You don't have time to do all of that. So it's a really weird feeling right now to actually have that time. But the reason why I have the time, because, mom is no longer here. But I am really trying to change the way that I'm eating, really cutting out the processed food, something I should have been doing a long time, and trying now to make sure I'm making the time to get exercise and sleeping a minimum of 7 hours a night.
You're professional diabetes educator, how has this changed your approach as a professional?
That's a great question, because I'm getting a lot more questions about it from clients, from patients, just from people who know that I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator. And I would say the number one tip that I'm giving people is just what I'm trying to follow is cutting out the processed food, cutting out the sugar, and exercise and sleep. Our sleep hygiene is so important. I think that's probably one of the number one things that we can do that most people don't pay that much attention to.
I obsess about sleep. Is that normal, Lynn? You've worked with a lot of families who have loved ones with dementia.
Right.
Am I alone here?
Oh gosh, no, heavens no, really and truly. Even among our staff, we talk about it all the time. And I've got so much to say. I don't want to be a commercial for the Ivy, but just last Friday, we have launched Brain Health Solutions 12-week program. And each week we're going to have an expert. Our first week is about sleep. And we have a PhD who has her own business, and it's called BASE. And she is one of 250 in the world, a diplomat in behavioral sleep medicine, where she tries to get everybody off of whatever they might be taking to try to get them to sleep. I mean, and she talks about the things that you do, the hygiene for sleep, which is, we all kind of know them, but our program, and I'm going to be one of the participants because I need the discipline. Just like Vicki said, we know what these things are.
Right. Discipline. Now, Kristen, I can imagine, like, as the daughter of an NFL coach, you had to grow up with serious discipline. Oh, we lost her.
Oh.
We have you back?
Technology's not our friend.
No, not our friend. But I can say the same thing to you, Vicki, because Delta sorority sister, your mom also a Delta sorority sister, an educator at that. I know there was some strict in your life. So the discipline, discipline, do you have it when it comes to sleep?
I am trying to get better. But interesting what Lynn was saying. Melatonin is my friend right now. And I also am trying to wean myself off because I don't want to be dependent on it. But at the same time, I need the sleep. So I am kind of transitioning to having more self-discipline.
Okay, our screens, which should we even be talking about our screens right now while we're sitting here on your screen? But, you know,
well, we have a few hours before we have to go to bed.
Important because we're hearing these things. Oh, you know, these screens are bad for our mental health. But also, if we're talking about minding our minds, the screens don't serve us well when it comes to sleep hygiene. They don't serve us well when it comes to the kind of light that they're projecting at us. But I love my screens.
Well, it has been a savior during
all
this past year pandemic.
Right.
Yes.
I've become more dependent on the screens, but
I think it's listening to Kristen as we have, been planning and practicing for her session. It really is about the couple of hours before you go to bed. And it's simple things like, okay, let's just turn the lighting down a little bit in the house. Let's let the body and the brain recognize it's time for sleep. And so you just kind of ease down. I sit in bed and read my iPad. That's when I'm looking at Facebook, and then I'm getting sleepy, and then I put it away. Ooh,
yes.
That's bad.
Yeah.
But screens today, like at this time of day, we're okay as long as it's not 100% of what we do.
Yeah. Now, can we go back to something that Vicki touched on? We talk about this sleep discipline and the diet and all those things that people say are self-care. And don't forget, while you're caregiving, take care of yourself. And then you start obsessing about the things that you should be doing that you aren't doing, and you're trying to take care of this other person. The stress, poor for our mental health, for our brain health. How do we address the stress of caregivers? Because I feel like we are leading dementia caregivers down a dementia road. And we can't stop the train. Like how?
Well, I will say, for me, it is definitely one, having a tremendous support network. And luckily you two have been a big part of that network for me. And therapy, honestly, to have that objective person to be able to, I say, verbally vomit on, and then just, have them give you solutions or suggestions that you may not have thought about before, but it really, for me, was getting it out of my head.
Therapy? I thought you were a Christian, Vicky.
There are Christian therapists, Ramona.
Because there are a lot of people who say, just pray about it and, talk to your pastor, or the pastor don't have time for what I need. He or she really doesn't. And I believe that God put professionals in our lives as well, who have these amazing gifts at helping you get to the source of your problem.
Right.
Absolutely. Growing up, I remember my mom always said, we have family doctors, dentists, even veterinarians. We need to have family therapists.
Well, I grew up in the put your problems on the altar family. And, after a while, you're like, okay, now what? In fact, I'm like 7 and I'm not even sure what that means.
Right.
Do you find that religion plays a role for a lot of families, Lynn?
Yes, I do. But I don't see religion so much in our conversations with families as much as I see spouses. Oh, I promised in sickness and in health to take care of him. And without really realizing that they could really be the guide, they could be the care manager and oversee other people helping. What I see, what all of us went through just with ourselves, we all ended up with help, in one way or another. Mm-hmm. And that was important. But I think the biggest thing is, can you take 10 minutes at some point in the day or twice a day to just sit and breathe? We talk about meditation. That's a great way, but that turns a lot of people off. I've not been disciplined enough. Those who do meditate.
And there are some people who have a weird view of what meditation is based upon something they might have seen in a movie. And there are some religious organizations that frown on the word meditation and those connotations. I get that.
I know. We watch a 2.5-minute video, quite frankly, of Sanjay Gupta, who has his 5 tips. And when he comes to mindfulness, that's really the word. It's not necessarily meditation. Meditation is part of it, yes. But he even says, just sit and breathe and be quiet for just a few minutes, or journal, or do something. Now, journaling to me is a task, and that just adds to my
list. Yes. then I'm like, oh my God, I didn't journal.
But I'm going to
show you not journaling. Why don't I journal?
Show you a picture. Let me see. Can y'all see this cute little frog?
Yes.
Okay. So let me see if I can get that straight. So it could be a matter of, and I've gotten a little better, of simply going, just exhale really long, and and just sit for 5 minutes and exhale, and you change. I even saw a little thing on the internet the other day. It's called Calm I Go, but it's all one word. And you see this woman walking down the street, and she's about to bust with all of the stress around her. And she pulls out this little thing and she breathes it in. It's almost like an inhaler, like people with asthma have.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, because she stops and she breathes. And she's out on the street, and you just see all this beautiful, behind her, and you go, I want to buy that.
Here's the thing, though. I think sometimes when we start talking about mindfulness, it gets a little hooky pooky, hippy dippy-ish for people. Break it down to breathe, girl. Hey,
Breathe.
girl, let's breathe. Let's just take a minute, put the phone
take a
down,
minute.
and let's just breathe. If you need to breathe in Jesus and breathe out Satan, that's fine. If you want to breathe in, love and breathe out hate, that's fine. Just take a moment and breathe. And sometimes I think we get all like, oh, minding your mind. Oh, that's very thinkerish. No, it's about taking care of the brain.
It is.
And that's really the foundation of mental health. And I think, maybe it's just me and what I've been through, but I feel like that's part of the mental health conversation that we're not having. After you wreck your brain, mental health is almost impossible to achieve or maintain.
I also would like to share that I've just learned about this week. Are y'all familiar with Dr. Lisa Genova? She is someone that is in Maria Shriver's advisory group, but she is a neuroscientist, and she leads the Alzheimer's prevention clinic at Weill Cornell.
And see, that's what
she wrote a book about women in mind. Yes.
Yeah.
Do y'all
I haven't
remember
had time to read it.
Do y'all remember
that's the thing. People are constantly pushing books and literature at me.
But
And maybe now,
person.
Hold on one second though. Maybe now I will have time to get to those things because time is of the essence. It's always of the essence. And I think this dementia walk has taught me about the value of time.
Yeah.
And that's minding your mind.
Mm-hmm. And start 20 to 30 years, which we did
before
not. The first symptom ever appears. That is the science and that is the data. And so helping yourself and others, it's really never too late to start anything. We're talking about it today. Make today the minute we start.
And as we continue these talks about minding our mind, Vicki, we have to talk about diabetes. Diabetes and dementia are very, very good friends.
Closely linked.
We have to talk about alcohol. Alcohol and dementia are very, very good friends. And when we're talking about alcohol, we're talking about sugar. So the processed foods, that's what we're talking about. But, in my family, eventually probably when I hit like 45, I'll probably get diabetes. Let's talk about
expected.
Right. Let's stop expecting and start preventing.
And whole food and plant-based diets or plant-based nutrition is really, it's going to help against diabetes. It's going to help blood pressure. It's going to help
cholesterol.
There are so many opportunities to help. Now, I don't know how to cook and prepare delicious, plant-based food.
You better preach. You better preach. I tell my neighbors I make reservations and diarrhea. Which one do you want? I guess the internet knows what's on my mind and, figures out what it needs to feed me. And I found this past weekend a pretty phenomenal website it's called plantable.com. And it is chef prepared plant-based nutrition, really well-known people. Do they send it to you?
They send it to you
made?
already prepared, so you don't even have to do
people. I really was concerned, and one of the things I loved about the Ivy, and once again, this is not a commercial for the Ivy, but Vicki's mom, Joyce, went to the Ivy. My mom went to the Ivy, and one of the things that impressed me was the diet.
Yes,
at the Ivy, it was goals. But then someone says, well, just try this meal prep service. It's like, so you think that just because they chopped it up doesn't mean I have another half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour
assembly and preparation
for assembly and preparation. Meanwhile, I'm trying to cook and keep an eye on that lady over there who really can't be unattended.
Yeah.
And that's a part of the dementia care that I don't think enough people understand. It's the level of supervision necessary, the level of vigilance for some caregivers, which is 24 hours a day. I so wish Kristen, who started with us, could be with us right now, and she and I are going to reconnect at another time. We're going to have a daughter to daughter conversation during this NFL season. But when I was at the luncheon where I met Kristen and her mom, and I don't know if you remember this, Vicki, they had just placed Marty, her father Marty, like we mentioned before, legendary NFL coach. Her mom was just breaking down, and she talked about having on her wrist the key to their home. Like she wore the key because she had to keep them locked in so that he wouldn't wander off. He wouldn't be the next silver alert. And so and I thought about the cameras that I had installed so that I could keep an eye on mom at night, and the alarm system just in case, because there was a time when mom got up in the middle of the night to answer the door. There was no doorbell. And so when you start telling people, oh, make sure you're getting your sleep, make sure, it's so hard for so many caregivers.
And for so many reasons. For that very reason, Ramona, mom couldn't stay at home by herself. So Sherry and I had to have my sister, we had a schedule where we were staying at her house 2 nights on, 2 nights off. So, and then you're getting up in the middle of the night to go check on her to make sure that she's okay, to make sure she's breathing. So now your sleep is getting interrupted. And so, like you said, how do you reconcile all of that into self-care?
Yeah. And Vicki, I have to applaud you and Sherry, because I talk to a lot of adult children who are in that caregiving space. The way you and your sister worked together is rare. It is incredibly rare how you shared those responsibilities. And I know everybody can't do it physically. Everybody can't do it financially. I mean, different siblings are equipped for different jobs. Some are the funders and some are the diaper changers. That's just the way life is. However, the way you two were able to just get together and tag team and take care of your mom was amazing.
Thank you. We say we're thankful that through it all that we actually still like each other.
Right. Did it take a toll on your relationship ever?
Very early on last year, when things took a downward slide, when pandemic started and quarantine started, and we were at mom's house for 2 weeks, 24 hours together. And admittedly, I had a breakdown, and we had a spirited discussion.
Ooh,
and we had to take
sister fight.
Yes.
Sister fight.
And we had to take a break. I had to come home for a few days. You know, she stayed there by herself. And ironically, that's when I said, I need to go back to therapy because I need to have that alternative person to talk to. So after that, and we talked about it, obviously it got better. And we are, again, extremely thankful that we did have each other to deal with this, because we said many, a daily, hourly, minutely prayer for you, Ramona, going through this by yourself. Because as tough as it was for us with 2, it's only imaginable how it was for you.
I tell you, I cannot thank my God squad enough. People think I was alone, but there was, people who have extended extraordinary kindness. I mean, just extraordinary kindness. They just come out of the woodwork. There's a core group of people who've been by my side, and then others who've shown up like angels. So I don't want anyone to ever think I did it alone, because I didn't. And
God bless that.
And the Ivy, was not only were you a part of my life when mom was attending the Ivy, but what many people don't know is the folks from the Ivy continue to follow me.
Yeah.
I continue to talk to Leah and
Same
get,
here.
I got advice up to the very end. And also I give input. How was that care home? What's that doctor like?
We
Did
need
she
that.
try that med, this therapy? How did this go? How did that go? What's working for this? Scheduling, which agencies are the best? Which are the
Yes.
worst? All of
Yes.
that. I have used every resource I could get my greedy little hands on. And the Ivy is one of those resources.
Yes.
How have you been able to do what you do during a pandemic? Because you had to change.
Yes, we did.
And how did that affect your families?
Well, it has turned out to be okay. Part of our pivot was we created some virtual programming so we could still engage the person who had been attending. Now, there were challenges because obviously that person wasn't really able to technologically handle it unless there was home care or unless the caregiver. But it worked. It worked for a while. The other thing that we ended up having to do was completely change our model from a certified adult daycare being required to be open 5 days a week and have a midday meal, which those meals are very expensive. And financially, with being shut down, we really couldn't. So when we reopened to morning and afternoon, and we have ultimately pivoted to afternoon only, which we seem to be having, almost the same number of people be able to attend. But it has freed up the staff and people like Leah to stay closer in touch with the people with the families, and to be able to offer, better solutions. One thing,
and one of the solutions, we're running out of time, but I want to make sure we give people information. You are talking about solutions. You're talking about prevention. I love the way you are leading the brain health conversation at the Ivy. Please give us information on how we can attend the seminar.
Okay. Well, thank you. So we are going to have, it's a 12-week program. We've got our last 2 info sessions this Friday. So if there was an opportunity to attend,
give us dates. Don't give us dates.
Friday the 17th is our last info session, but we can do.
Okay, we might be airing this after that.
Yeah, I think you are. So the ones that start this fall, starts September 24th, which is the 2 weeks, I guess, or a week. And they're every Friday. You either choose a morning or choose an afternoon, and you go 8 weeks on Fridays. And then, because we've created a brain gym, which is exercise, movement, and cognitive stimulation simultaneously. And we have a wellness coach who's going to check in. And so that would be weeks 9 through 12, Monday through Thursday. We're going to redo it, or we're not redo it, but we're going to offer them next year as well, starting in early January. We don't have a date yet. We're also going to start in mid-October. We're going to do info session webinars, and they're going to be live.
Oh, wonderful.
Where can we get all the information on that?
Yes.
We are putting it together right now about doing the live webinars.
The website?
Our website, yes, www.theivy.com.
Okay.
THEIVEY has a landing page for this brain health workshop. Awesome. I just really want to stress to you guys.
We are running out of time. We are running out of time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We will have to have you back at some point. I have to make sure that I thank Vicki. Thank you so much. You have been such an amazing sister, not just a Delta sister, but a sister through this process. Thank you. And thank you for the education you're doing now, for the charge that you have been leading on the diet side. And I intend to talk more with you about that, Lynn. We will always stay in touch. And I'm promising you that we will reconnect with Kristen. And we will continue the conversation, because minding our minds is one of the most important things we can do, girl. We will be coming right back at you next week. Hey, girl, let's talk. This has been Minding Our Minds. Next time, a different Radio 1 Charlotte lady, a different topic, but lots and lots of hope and help. Thanks again to my guests, and thank you for spending this time with us. We'll see you next time, girl.
Thank you.
Thank you.